Here's a bit of the backstory. Before I went to Japan for a year to study abroad, my dentist recommends I get my wisdom teeth taken out because they're starting to crowd in the back. And he refers me to a local oral surgeon that requests a panoramic x-ray be taken so they can see what's going on back there before they start digging around. My dentist offers to take the x-ray for me and says that since my insurance coverage has full coverage for x-rays, I don't have to pay anything out of pocket. It's great. So a week later, I go into the oral surgeon's office and I get an estimate done, and they say that due to the nature of my insurance coverage, I would be better off only doing 2 at once because otherwise I'll be paying like 4 times as much money. So they quote me for about $275, which is great. They say just don't get any other work done between now and the time of the surgery, and that'll be all you'll need to owe us. I go in a couple weeks later, I get the surgery done, and I pay everything up front, and then I go to Japan for a year. Fast forward a year, I come back, and the oral surgeon has sent a letter to my mom about halfway into my year abroad, saying that they discovered some sort of computer error that grossly overestimated the amount of remaining benefits that I had left, and they undercharged us by about $500. So, you know, whenever you get around to it, it'd be great if you could pay us everything back. They were so kind about it because they just informed us of our debt and didn't take any action against us while I was abroad for a year because they knew that I wasn't even in the country. So my mom told me about this, and I got in touch with the financial hounds over at the oral surgeon's office. Talked to them for a while, and it was pretty clear that they made a huge error in the estimate. They were using a automated system that was admittedly antiquated, that basically took into account absolutely none of the work that I had done prior to the estimate. It would have just been easier if they had asked me if I had done anything, which they didn't. So they reminded me that the estimate was just an estimate, and even if I were to wait the 2 weeks to get an authorized estimate, that it still wouldn't have been any more reliable, and this sort of gross miscalculation still could have occurred. So I was a little upset about this, especially since they were trying to stick $500 on me. First I offered an accord. I said, you made a mistake, I made a mistake, the work's been done, there's nothing we can do about it, but how about I pay half? That way, you know, it's a compromise, right? Oh, no, we can't do that. You're going to have to pay the whole amount. So I look at the list of charges, and, you know, I got my teeth cleaned and I got a couple cavities filled earlier in the year. There was another charge on that list, and it was the panoramic x-ray. Well, you know, I did get the x-ray done at another dentist's office, but you guys asked for it. I mean, can you really sit there and tell me that you didn't know that I had a panoramic x-ray done? And their response was, oh, well, since it was done at another office, we have no idea how much that would have cost. And I said, okay, well, the charge right here is $102. How much do you guys charge for an x-ray? Oh, we charge $110. And I was like, well, that's even less than what you guys charge, so you're saving $8. I don't see what the big problem is. And they said, no, you owe us the whole amount, so pay up. So at first I gave them a check for the entire amount except for that last $102 for the x-ray, saying that this is part of a compromise. I'm offering this much money. As far as I'm concerned, I don't owe you anymore. I'm not paying for the x-ray. And they voided the check and returned it to me because they couldn't agree to that compromise. Not wanting to seem unreasonable, I sent them another check that was for the same amount but no compromise attached to it, saying, look, I'll give you this money, but as far as I'm concerned, this situation has been resolved. And of course, their response was, thanks for the money, but you still owe us $102. If they had taken me to court, they wouldn't have gotten anything. In fact, they probably would have spent more money on attorney's fees and man hours than they would have if they just dropped the thing. And if they were to send me to collections, they would have to pay 30% of the debt anyways to them. So either way, they would have lost. I knew this, they knew this, and so really all they could do was send me letters. And at first they started out cordial enough. Perhaps it slipped your mind that you owe us an outstanding balance, and we'd appreciate it if you could pay us back whenever you can. But after a few months, they started to get a little bit more testy. Kind of took on the sour note of a jilted lover. The most recent of which says, We've made numerous attempts to contact you regarding your overdue balance of $102. You must make arrangements with your office for payment within 30 days of this notice. After 30 days from the date of this letter, the account will be referred to T.A. Ross Collection Agency for immediate collection. You will then be subject to collection fees in addition to your current balance. This action can seriously affect your credit rating for many years. Please contact our office if you have any questions regarding your balance or if you feel an error has been made. And I thought it was really nice of them to let me know that sending me to collections is really an act of love, and that they really don't want to seriously affect my credit rating, but they really need to be paid for that x-ray. So I thought to myself, do I pay the amount and let them win? Or do I take them to court? Or do I just ignore it? Will this really affect my credit rating? Can they really make me pay collection fees without a court order? Well, no. But even so, I don't like to be in debt. It's really just kind of a personality trait. I don't like the feeling of people thinking that I owe them money.